This is a how to create an e-commerce landing page tutorial brought to you by IT Skills Academy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from where or when you're watching this video. This is John from IT Skills Academy, and I'm back after a long while with yet another video. In today's video, we'll be creating this cool landing page with Tailwindcss from scratch. If you'd like to build your own website within minutes, you would like to stick until the end of this video. That way you won't miss anything. And just before I forget, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our new members, those who have recently joined IT Skills Academy. Welcome and thank you. Feel at home and get ready to learn. Well, this video is meant for those who have some basic understanding of Tailwindcss. If you're new to Tailwindcss, I would suggest you watch my previous Tailwindcss crash course, link in the description of this video. Enough of the intro talk, let's get this started, shall we? Wait a minute, have we seen a demo of this cool landing page yet? Oh sorry, let's first see that. Well, to make this video as short as it could be, I have already prepared some important basic files that we'll need to create our project. These will be the building blocks of our project, and it's only fair that I show you these specific files nevertheless, so that we can be all in the same page. So I have already created the e-commerce project folder. As you can see, it's named e_commerce, and inside it now we have the specific files that I'm talking about. And the very first and these files here are the files that you're going to get when you install Tailwindcss in your computer. If you don't know how to install Tailwindcss in your computer, I would recommend you to watch my previous video titled Tailwindcss version 3 crash course, that will take you from the basics of Tailwindcss to installing Tailwind CSS in your computer, and also getting started with it to create a basic project. So it's after that that you can come and watch this video. But still, if you feel that you can be able to run even from this level, then you're welcome. So those 3 or 4 specific files are the ones that you're going to get when you install Tailwind CSS. But also remember that you don't have to install Tailwind CSS yet. If you just want to run and walk through the Tailwind CSS so that you see if it is fit for you, you can play with the Tailwind CSS CDN. And let me just take you to the Tailwind CSS website here so that I can show you how you can get started with that. So you can go to the tailwind.css.com/docs/installation, and here you're going to find the installation, and the default one will be the Tailwind CLI. So if you want the CDN, you have to switch to the CDN here. And what basically this will help you to do is it will help you to add the CDN script to your HTML. And how do you do that? You just come and grab this specific link here and add it to the end of your HTML, and just like that you will start using Tailwind's utility classes to style your content. And if you want to go further to customize your configurations, you can come and grab this script, and of course this will be the tailwind.config, and you can add it within your head of your HTML, just like it is done here. And this will basically help you to customize, like for instance, if you want to name a specific color that you want to use in your project, you can come and give it a name and specify that specific color. So whenever now you call this class, Tailwind will know to apply this specific color, and that will help you to personalize your page or your website. So but in our case, we'll be using the Tailwind CLI, which is the simplest and fastest way to get up and running with Tailwind CSS from scratch. So basically, in my previous video, I have explained and also in practice shown you how you can install Tailwind CSS in your computer so that you can be using it in your project. Alright, so having said that, then we can continue to what I have already prepared here. So I also have the images that we'll be using for this project. I have named them image 1 to image 10 so that we can easily identify them. We also have the e-commerce folder that houses our index.html. So this will be where our landing page will be located, of course. That's the file that we'll be editing. Right now it contains nothing, as we're going to see in a second. We also have the dist. So this is just the folder that holds the very important file here when it comes to styling our website, that is the output.css. And if you already know how Tailwind CSS works, is that it will take the classes that you're going to write within your HTML, it will process them and create an output.css. The output.css file which will be used to style your work. So if you don't have this file, then you may not be able to use Tailwind CSS or classes to style your website. Okay, so those are the only files and which are very important that I have prepared just to try and make this video as short as it could be. So now let's try to open our project folder with my favorite text editor IDE, that is Visual Studio Code. And how I like doing it is opening it with a CMD. So I just go to the path of my project folder, and there I just write CMD, and that should open at the CMD. And here what I'll just come and do is I'll just come and write code dot. This happens with a Visual Studio Code. I don't know how to do that with other IDEs or text editors. And now here we have the Visual Studio and the Visual Studio code with our several files that we have already seen. And of course here right now we are in the index.html. We basically just have the HTML basic structure here, but also very important to know is that I have also linked to the all.min.css using is a CDN, and I've also linked to our output.css file, the file that we have over here. And if I might just open it, so I just click on it to open it. So these are the specific styles or classes that will now help to style our work. Okay, so we also have the images. Of course, we can also see them from here, the images there. We also have the package rock.json, and we also have the package.json, and most importantly we have the tailwind.config.js. Let me take a second to explain what we have inside here. So if you have Tailwind installed in your computer, then you need to come and add this content. You need to come and add this part within your tailwind.config.js. This is how Tailwind will know which specific page you are working. So in this case, in fact, I need to come and change this name from food to the name of our project. So in our case, we have it named as e_commerce. So I can just come and change that to e_commerce, like that. So this will now help the Tailwind classes or Tailwind to know to get to the HTML and to the JS files. We also have under theme the container here, where I have tried to like center everything within my page. So like everything should be appearing at the center and not like at the very edge, because by default to be appear at the very edge. We want it to be somewhere at the center or something. We also have the padding there, and I've also added the breakpoints here. So for the large it will be these pixels, for the extra large it will be the same, and for this it will be this. So it's not important that you have this, but it's recommended that at least you include it so that your website can be mobile fast. I've also extended some colors here. So I have the orange, red, blue, gray, and white, so that anytime I have these colors, Tailwind knows to apply this color red, apply this color blue, like that. So that's very, very important. I've also included the Poppins font family. Yes, just like that. So that's just what we have in the tailwind.config.js. And of course, very, very important, although we'll be coming back to this, the class for the themes. So if we don't have this here in the tailwind.config.js, then we might not be able to have the light and the dark themes. Okay, so having mentioned that, then we can be able to continue. Okay, so I'm just going to hide that, and I'll go back to the index.html. This will, of course, will be writing our code. And just before I continue, I also want to mention that I have installed the live server within my Visual Studio Code, because I want to run this page live so that I can see what I'm coding live. So if you don't have the extension installed in your computer yet, I recommend that you have it. And the way you do it is that you go to the extensions here, that is if you're using Visual Studio Code, and here you can just come and search for live server. I will I would suggest that you go with this one. So what you just need to do is to just come and click on the install. In my case, because I already have it installed, it is reading uninstall. In your case, if you don't have it, then it will be installed. If it is reading uninstall, then it means it is already installed and you don't need to do anything else. So basically this will just is an extension that will just be helping you to run your or launch a development local server with the live server. Okay, so we can just close that. And so now what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to come and run this with live server. So my page here with live server. So okay, so I'm just going to come and right click this and say open with live server, and this means that it will open with my default web browser, that is in this case, in my case rather, Microsoft Edge. So I'll have that open, and as you can see, it is empty, like we don't have anything. And so as I had promised, we'll be creating this from scratch. Okay, so let's get to the Visual Studio, and maybe we can just have this side by side now that we have it with the live server, so that we can also be able to see what we are creating. Yes, so we can have that there. So the first thing that I would like to do is to test whether whatever classes we'll be writing here, whether they will be processed and an output is created, and we are able to access that output.css so that we have whatever we are writing styled. Let me just show you practically here what I mean. So I can maybe just come and have some dummy text here. Maybe I can just try to welcome you guys to ITSKILLSACADEMY, and as you can see, we are getting that live here, and we can now try to style that a little bit. So for us to style that, we can just come and have a class and give it maybe some maybe increase the size of this text. Maybe we can say text 4XL, and maybe we can talk of the color being orange. We can also try to have the text with some color, so I can say text white, and when it's white, then it means we're not going to see it. So for that case, we can have it with a BG. We can have a BG of orange. So it shows that everything is working as would expect. So we're good to go to start creating our cool e-commerce landing page. So what I have already prepared again off the camera are these links that again will sort of give us some guide in what should be placed where. So to start with, again, as I've mentioned, we'll be starting with the navigation. And with the navigation, what we are going to do is we're going to have a tag. We're going to call it head, and within this tag we're going to create yet another tag. We are going to call it nav, and I'll just come and say company name stroke logo, like that. And now we're going to have that in a container, so I'll create a container, and within that we're going to have the name, and in my case I'm going to have it in a span because I want to style them differently. So we'll be seeing the reason as to why I'm doing all this. So I'll duplicate that, and the second one here will be the commerce. So that will be the logo or the company's name. So it should appear there as such. And now we want now to move on to the nav items. So the home, the about, the contact, the clothes, and all that. So I'm just going to have that within an ordered list, or a list. In this case it will be unordered. It can be anything. and within that I'm going to create the li, so that is the list children. So li, and let me see if I can multiply this by 4. Okay, it's not working, so let me just say li, and then what I'll do is I'm just going to duplicate this. So I need 4 of them, so I can have them spaced like that. So here we'll have the home, so this one should be home. Here we want to have the about. Maybe here we can have clothes or any name, anything, and here we're going to have the contact. Alright, so we are done with that, but before we finish that, we also want to have the toggle icons, the toggle buttons that we'll be using rather to toggle between light and dark theme. So for that I'm going to have yet another comment here, and I'm just going to say toggle buttons. So here we are going to have the first one being the moon. So the first one will be the moon, and we'll also need a second one here, and the second one will be the sun. So we'll be using icons here. So for that we'll be specifically using the SVG icons, and so I can go to Tailwind resources. So usually Tailwind provides several resources, some of them being SVG icons. So they usually call them uni icons or hero icons. Sorry, hero icons. Yes, so we're trying to get that. So I'll just come and search, and I'll start with the moon. So we have the moon, and I can just come and get it here. So I'll just paste the SVG icon there. So rather it should be below here, and we want the other for the sun, and we can just come and pick this one here and have it below here like that. So now we have the two icons there, and I think we are done. So now lastly we can have the rust button here. So this one should be outside the LI, so this will be the hamburger that will be shown on small screens. So I'm just going to come and say button, and for this button it will just be a hamburger. So how we'll do that is we're going to have that tag there, and we'll give it a class, so that is class, and first of all we'll determine its size, so it will be 2XL, and for them to be 3 horizontal lines we're going to have these words, so far, bars, like that. So that should give us 3 horizontal lines in this specific size, and we are done with the navigation. So we're just remaining to do what? To style it. Yeah, so let me just come and create some space there. So that is our navigation. So we can now go to the hero section, and for the hero section here we have some work. I'm going to come down here and have several divs or containers. So first of all I'm going to have 4 so div like that. And in fact what we are now creating is this part here. We've just finished the navigation, so we are now here. So as you can see here, we have two columns. We have this column and this column that has the decorated images. Yeah, so that's what we are creating right now. So inside here we are going to have the very first text, that is like that is this name that we have here, and the paragraph. The button will be creating it later, so I'm going to have that in h1, and I'm just going to give it that name. So that will be summer styles. Sorry, should be styles. I'll finally here. And below here we are going to have some dummy text, so I can just come and say lolem 20, and we're going to have that dummy text there just to help us to save on time. And that part is done, so we are done with that part over there. So in fact we can just come and separate that there. So that will be the first column. So if I can just maybe try to decorate it a little bit there. Yeah, so I just want us to be able to understand each and every part here. So that will be the part for the text. And so now it means we are moving on to the next part, the second column, that is. So just below there, so we're going to like create some space there. And so here I'm going to have some two divs first, and inside these two divs, this is where we are going to have our decorated image grid. So for the decorated grid, we are going to again have at least 5 divs inside here. So let me just create some more extra space there. So here we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and inside the 5th, this is where we are going to have our image. So I can even just have it like that. So this is where we are going to have our image, and I can just come and have this duplicated down here, and I'm also going to have it somewhere down here. Let me just come and copy that, and I should have it here, and just to mark that. Yeah, so this is just to help us understand what is going on here. So as you can see now, we have the text part. This will be the first column, and then we have the second column starting and ending here, and inside here we want now to have the images, and they should be within these containers here. So our first image now will appear inside here. So I'm just going to come and have the image, and for the source I'm just going to get out of the e-commerce folder, and here I can go to the images, and I want the image number 1, like that. So we'll be styling that later. So let's get to our image here. As you can see, we have these images in columns. We have the first column, second column, and third column. So in the first column we have 2 images, 3 images and 2 images. So we need to have these 2 images in our code, the 3 images and the 2. So here we are going to come and grab these, and this will be our first image just as it is. So in fact, again, I can just paste out that. So that will be our first image, and we want 2 of them. And I can again come and have some comments there, and I can say column 1, so it will start there, and it will come to end somewhere down here. So I can just come and copy that and have it down here, and maybe I can just come and say heads. Yeah, so that will be our very first column there. I'm just spacing for readability, and so that you can also be able to see from that end. And so now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to have these duplicated. So if we come to this container here, this will be the container that will be having the grid. So in that case, I can even come and have it like a grid starts here, and we can come and say that the grid is heading where? Yeah, somewhere here, like that. So we can just space that out. So that means now we want to have at least 3 grids. So we have this, the first one here, and we'll also have another one down there, and yet another one, the last one. So for that, I'm going to come and copy this, the whole of that, and I'll duplicate it twice, like that. And this one will be column 3, this one will be 2, and of course that will be 1. Yes, so I think we need to get rid of this. Okay, so we have those grids like that, and I do hope I have been able to like have them in or explain them in the very simplest form, and I hope we have cracked it, like it will be working. So for the second, we have 3 images, so we are going to duplicate this so that we have 3 images. If it doesn't work, then we will try a different way that could be more easier, but let's see if that works. So let's try to preview and see what we are going to see. So I'm going to just go live here, so starting that, and at port 5500 we'll be able to see our work, and we have it like that. So those are the images there. So we'll be styling. When we style them, that's when we'll see if we were able to arrange them the way they are supposed to be arranged. But let's just leave that for now, and I want to also dispose this. So that is done. So we are now going to the hero section, or rather the featured section. Or before we go to the featured section, sorry, we need also to have finally the button. We need to have the button. So I can just come and say button, and this one will be shop collections. So now that will be there, and we'll be styling it later. So let's just go to the featured section now. And so now with these, again, we're going to have some containers, of course. So I'm just going to come and say a div. We'll have two to start with, and inside the second one we are going to have the heading or the title for that specific section. So it will be featured clothes. Featured clothes. Okay, so that is good, and we're done with that. So below that specific div, we are going to yet have another div. So a div, and as I've mentioned, we have that looking fine. There's no need of putting those lines. So we have the title there. I hope everything is clear. And now below the heading, or below the H1, we're going to have yet another div, and within this div, within this specific div, I'm going to have some content, and I'm going to have them within anchor tags, because I want them to be act like a link, so that when you click them you can be taken somewhere. So for that I'm going to have them within the anchor tag, and within this anchor tag, now this is where we are going to have let me just show you that. So within this anchor tag, this is where we are going to have this part here. So that is the image and the text and this icon here. So all these will be lapped within that anchor tag, and you can see the featured clothes just on top there. Okay, so within that now we are just going to come and have the image, and here we want to come and have the image number. So images, image number 9. So image number 9 to appear there. Yeah, and just before I forget, this should be within a div. It should be within a container, like so. Yeah, like that. So now below that div, we are going to have of course some text. So we will have that lapped within another container or div. So we are going to have a h3 here, and this will be the name of the product. So like we can say the black, and of course we need the price, so that will be in a paragraph. So we can say $48. Below that we want to have the icon, this icon here. So for that we can go back to the hero icons, and we can look for shopping. So we have it here, just copy it, and we can just come and have that below this div. Okay, so this is one part that will be duplicating. So in fact I can just do my shenanigans here. I can just come and have that line there. It will be helping us to know which part will duplicate. So I'll just come and have that repeated down here. Yeah, so we'll know now to duplicate that specific part several times, so that now we are able to have at least 4. So we just created this, we'll duplicate them to have the 4 of them. Okay, so looks like we have an extra div here. Okay, let me try to fix this. So this should be 4. There should be 4 of them down here. So this one should be for the grid. This one goes there, that one being the first one there. Yeah, so we should just have 3. I don't know where the extra ones are coming from. Okay, yeah, that sometimes happens, and it may cost you a lot, so it's always good to know or see that your containers, your divs are opened and closed properly. Otherwise you're going to have a lot of problems trying to fix those things there. Okay, so hope that section is good to go. So now we can go to the popular products, and just like with the previous, I'm going to have a div here and another one, and inside that we're going to have the h1, which will have the title for this section. So here we are going to come and say people also purchased. People also John purchased. People also purchased. So that will be the title for that specific part there. And now below that, as usual, we're going to have the div for the grid. So in fact we can start by labeling it before we start being overwhelmed by the number of divs that we have here. So we can say start here, and we can duplicate these, and as usual we rename this to heads. So we know now that the container that we are creating here has to do with the grid. And that's it. Now within that we're going to have 2 more divs, and we are just going to space them a little bit. Just have it like that, so that we're able to clearly differentiate them. And now within these, now we are going to have the image. Okay, so that will be the image. Now below that we are going to create yet another div. If I just show you what we are creating here, in fact we are in this section here. So we just created the image. Now we are in the white section here, and we also have this orange section. So I'm just going to maybe come and comment this. I don't know whether I'll be having a lot of comments, so maybe I can say card body, or maybe card content. So that should just be below the image. So I'll just come and create a div, yet another div here, and now here we are going to have the first or the name of this specific stuff here, and this one will be a link. So for that I'm going to have the anchor tag there, and inside it we're going to have the name. So that is the t-shirt. Yes, and that will be it for our heading. Should in fact be heading 3. I think 1 is too big, so we have that there. And below that we're going to have our paragraph. So our paragraph tag, and here we're going to have the name or the color of the t-shirt, or some sort of description or something. And that's it. And now outside that we're going to have the paragraph, or rather we're going to have the price in a paragraph tag. So that will be $35. Now outside that we are going to come and have the button. So here we are going to just come and have the orange button, so that will be in another div that we are going to. Let me just come and have a comment here, because we'll be styling these later and you might be confused. So can just call that or label that as a button. And now inside this div we're going to have yet another div, and now we can have a h3 here, and this will be a link again. And so inside this link, this is where we are going to have some dummy text. So and to wish list, not wish list, which like that. And down here we want to come and have the shopping cart icon, I think so. Let me see. Yes, we need to have the icon there. So oh, we don't need, okay, yes, already there. Would have copied from the previous one, but it's all the same. So I can just come and duplicate that and have that down there. So that is our SVG for that specific icon. So before we finish with this, we want to confirm the divs here and make sure they are all intact. And looks like we have a problem. Let's try to fix this. I think because of the several divs that we have here, they can be a little bit confusing, a little bit. So we should not have this one here. I don't know how this one came here, so we should get rid of that. Oh, sorry, I see what we did. This was for the grid, so it will help us to have that grid there. I see. But now what about this one? Okay, so let's try to clear them one by one. So we should just have that there, so that is good. The other one there, then we have the h1, should have yet another one here. This one that will be for the grid, and just below that we should have these two, correct. And the one for the, yeah, so it is this one here. So this one should be opened and closed, so we should come and close that there. So I'm still trying to eliminate some of the extra divs that we might have created by mistake. So we have that one there, should be there. Then we have that one, good. Then we have this one that is now for the grid, so we should come and grab this. And we should come and have it somewhere down here. So that will be for the grid. Then we have this one, and this was meant for the button, which I think is okay. So let me just first of all get rid of this. In fact, let me just see, we should just have that one there, which is for that part. Yes, so that one should be there. So we're just taking some time here so that when it comes to styling, it won't give us a lot of problems. Okay, so the next part that we are going to create is the popular products. So let me just take a moment to show you the image of what we are about to create. So so it is this part here, people also purchased. It is the part 3. So that's the beautiful part that we want to create right now. So I'll just come here and create a div, and this will be like the main div. So let me just come and have some lines here, like so. Okay, this is just to help me to keep track of this specific div, because there are quite a number of them and we might lose track of them. Yeah, so I can maybe even come and call these main ends. Maybe you have a lot of comments, I don't know. Yeah, but they are helpful at least. They're going to help us understand what is going on. So that is the main div there, and inside here we are going to have yet another div, and for this div that we've just created here, this is the one that will house the title. So inside here we're going to have a h2, and it's here we are going to have the people also purchased. So just like that, and below that we're going to have 3 divs. So just below that we're going to create 3 more containers. So the first one, second one, and the third one there. So it is within the third one that we are going to have our image. So I can even have a comment there and say image. So this is where we are going to have the image. Just try to space this out a little bit so that we can be able to read, but again I don't want to put a lot of spacing. So we have the image now being inside here. So I'll just come and have the image, and the source of the image will be images, and here we want the image. So we want to always keep track of these divs. Like that, and everything looks good. So far so good. So now below our image we are going to create 2 more divs. So I'm going to have another div here and another div here. So we have those 2 there, and inside here now we are going to come and have our content. So I'm going to create a h3 tag there, and within here we are going to have an anchor tag, and inside this now we're going to have a span, and here we will have the t-shirt. Sorry, this one should be out here. So we should have the t-shirt here. Okay, so I just want to put those stuff in the spotlight a little bit so that they can be seen. Now below here we are now going to have the price. So it will be in a paragraph. That will be the $38, and that will be 8 for that part there. So just below this div we are now going to have the orange button, this section below here. So I'm just going to have two divs here. So first one and the second one here, and this is where we are going to have the button. So we can just come and say inside here that we want to have a h3 tag, and inside that, as usual, we'll have the anchor tag just like we have on top there. And inside here I want to come and have this span, and again below here we are going to come and have the text and to wish list, and below the h3 and outside that specific container we are going to have the SVG icon for the shopping cart, is on here. So I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to have it just below here. Yeah, so these will be the, sometimes I forget to write the comments. Shopping cart. Okay, so we have the shopping cart there. Shopping cart icon. Okay, now we are not going to do all the images, like we're going just to duplicate instead of typing all of them. So it's good to note that this is where the grids starts. So I can just come and say grids starts here, and we can also come and mark where it ends. So it is this div here, so it will come and add below it there, like that. So the whole of this part will be duplicating it, will be duplicating the whole of that whole thing there, but that will be later. So we are now going to the hello section. So direct to the hello section. So in fact we are going to have it start with the name tag section, and inside it we're going to have two divs. Inside the second div we're going to have a h2 which will have the text weekly sales of up to 60%. So before we continue, and before I forget, the part that we are creating is this part here. So we create sales of up to 60% of all the products. Yeah, so this is the part that we are currently creating. And now below the h2 and still within that div, we're going to have yet another div here, and inside this div we'll also have one more div, child div there, and inside it now we're going to have the form. So we'll have the input, so it will be of the type of text, and we should also have a placeholder, and here we can just come and say, so we'll be styling that later. Just below it we're going to have the button, so that is button, and this will have the name, and from there we're going to skip 3 divs, so the 3 of these. So we're going to come to this one here, and this is where we are going to have the image. So we start creating the divs here. So we're going to have a div, and inside it we're going to have the image itself. So we are getting that from the images, and this will be image number 1. Okay, so in the section here, within the section but outside that div, we are going to have the orange rectangle. Hope it is seen here. Yes, this orange thing here. So we're just going to come and maybe say and so with the orange rectangle, we'll have it within a container, and we're just going to style it so that it has that specific size and color. Then we're now going to the contact us section, and with the contact us section we'll start it with section, within which we are going to have 2 containers divs. So now within these containers we're going to have to start with a paragraph tag, and you're going to have some funny values here. Below that we'll have a h1, and we'll just come and say subscribe to get notified of new offers. Below that we'll have yet another div where we are going to have the sort of form, so input, type of text, and a placeholder, and within the placeholder will be enter your email. Below that, as usual, we will have the button, which will be contact. Just like that, we're done with that part. So we are now finally on the footer. So footer, within the footer we have 2 containers, and here we are going to have the company's logo or name, so that is E. Then after that, still within that div, we are going to have a list, so that is an ordered list, should have li, and that should be times 4. So we should have a home. Now that will be for that left side. Remember, we have just created this part here, and now we are here. We just have this and this, so we are now having these 2 social media icons. So that is so I'm creating a container here, and within it I'm having another list not ordered, and inside it we're having 2, and now within these we are just going to have the social media icons. So we'll just come and say I John, so that is a class, and for the text should be white, for the size should be 2XL, and I want the first one to be for Twitter, and we're just going to have the same, but the second one will be for Facebook. And we are done with the HTML. So let's learn that and see the basic structure before we start styling it. So there you go, still loading that. Yeah, so there you go. So now we can start styling that like so. So you can just take a short break. This is quite a long video. Stretch yourself, take a cup of any liquid, not any liquid, coffee, tea, chocolate. Yeah, just take something, not an app. So we'll be styling each and every section 1 by 1. We'll be styling them 1 by 1. So when we finish with one part, we preview it, and so on and so forth. So we'll start with we'll start by giving the body some background color. So I'll come and say class, and I'll say it will have a BG of slate 200. Good. And then now we're going to move direct to the navigation, so the nav here, and we'll give it a class of container. The items should be in a row, so flex. They should be aligned at the center, so center items or item center. The padding vertically, I don't know, vertically or horizontally, so padding 4 and empty of 4, that is margin top, and on small screens we should have the margin being 12. Good. Then we can come to this div here and give it a class. So this will be for our logo or the company name, so we're just going to have that with a padding, horizontal padding of 1. We'll style the name of the company, so we want it to be in uppercase. The text color should be orange, and in small devices the text should be 3XL. The other part of the name, so class, and here we should give it the color blue, and it should also be uppercase. So we're done with styling the company name, so we can now go to the list items here. So we'll have them hidden. Sorry, should start with the class. In small screens, or in small screens it should be hidden, or these items should be hidden, and on small devices we should also have it flex, flex 1. Justify end, so this will push these stuff at the very end, not fly but justify end, so they'll be positioned at the right hand at the very end of the page, so of this specific container. And we should also have the items centered, so we should have a hyphen here, and the gap between them should be 12, and the text should be small. We also want to give these some classes, and because they are all of them in the same class, I can just click the first one, hold Alt, and keep on clicking each and every one, and I can just give it a class of cursor point, so it will be like a hand, and not it will be like this, and not like, to be like a hand like this and not like this. Okay, so that's it. And also we can style the icons here, so this one should of course have some color, so cursor point, yeah, so for the moon we just have that, and for the sun it should have white color because it will be on a dark screen, so text, and of course the cursor point. Okay, so that's it. And finally we have the button, so sorry, class, and should have a class of flex, small screens, hide it, flex 1, push it to the very end, and have a padding of 4, 3, px of 4, focus outline. We are done with the navigation. I think it's high time we preview that. So just go live. Yeah, so we have that part there, as you can see. Very nice. Maybe I can also try to make these font bold. Maybe I can talk of this one being extra. Extra bold, and this one can be font bold. We say font all text. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so we have that part styled as we would want it to be. So that's done. So we can now go to the hero section and style it. So the hero section, have it here, and we'll start with the text. So start by positioning it, so that will be relative. For SBG it will be straight 200, and overflow of hidden. This one will be giving it a padding top of 16. In small screens, the padding top should be somewhere around 24. SM padding bottom, we can give it 40. This one should be PT padding top of again 40. D or PB padding bottom of 48. Good. Then the other container here, this is how we are going to style it. So we will give it a class, and it will be relative. A maximum width of 7XL, MX Autro, and a PX of 4. SM should be, that is in small devices. Padding horizontal should be 8, and on small devices should be static. So for this container here that houses the content, it will be on SM screens AX WLG. Let's style our first title here. So we'll have it with a class, and it will be of this size. Font should be extra bold. Tracking should be tight. For the text color should be gray. Opacity of 900. On small devices, the text should be 6XL. The paragraph, this is how we'll style it. We give it a class of padding top of 4. Text size should be extra large. For the color, we'll give it gray of 500, and that's it. So now we go to the decorated images. So we'll skip the first two divs, and we're just going to go direct to the third one. Yeah, so for this one, first we're going to have it with an area hidden. So we'll have that being true, and then I will start styling it here. So class, first class is a pointer events. So in this case, we just like changing the behavior of the pointer, like when it's clicked, how should it behave. So none. On large screens should be absolute. Large screens inset. So this is just like trying to lay out the images. Yeah, so just trying to lay out the images. So this is the positioning of the image in this specific container. On LG, where should this image be positioned? So we are saying LG max. So this is just the width, max width of 7XL, and on LG the margin should be out. On LG screens again, the width should be full. Sorry. This one should not be there. Beg your pardon. This one should be here. Yeah, so that now we have the next one here. And for this one, it should be absolute. Transform, and on small screens we should have it left. So this is how the images will try to like occupy the available space given the space available. So SM top of 0. On small devices this should translate. So translate X8, and on big device, that is large, reft of 1/2. On LG we can also have the same. Rather, this should be top. And we also want to come and also say that on large screens we should have it translate Y1 all/2. And again, finally, on large screens we also want to have it translate to X8. If you would want to like have an understanding of these classes, I would recommend that you visit the Tailwind documentation. So it's very easy, and they explain it very well step by step. So I mean with images, which is a little bit easier to understand. So so we have the other div here. So we'll have the items in this div flex, and these should be centered, so center. And for the spacing between the items, we'll give it 6. On LG screens we should have the space between the items in this div being 8. Now we're going to the grid. So class shrink a grid, and we also Yeah, so we're just starting the grid there, and we want to, now that the grid is declared, determine the number of columns. So that should be 1 column, and for the gap between these, the items in this grid should be Y6, and we should have these with a gap of Y8. Now we styled the images, or the image, so we'll have these with a class, and we'll start with the width being 44. For the height we'll give it 64. The name should be loaded Raj, and overflow and we're also going to have the images, or the image styled. So again, a class, width full, height full, object centered, object cover. Good, so that one is done, and for the second one is just a repetition of what we have here. So I'm just going to grab this and have it here, and I'm also going to copy this, so that will happen to like all of these ones. So let me just try to copy to all of them now. So this one should come here, so let's just have that one there, and the one for the, can we finish with the last one here. So I can now come and pick the one for images, and to save time I'm just going to come and click there, hold Alt, this one, this one, this one, and this one, space, and paste the classes. And we are going to do the same for the grid. So the grid, so the grid starts here, grid starts here, grid ends. Okay, so far so good. Okay, what's left? That one is done. That one is okay. Well, now that we have all the classes intact, we can now try to see how that looks on a browser. So I'm just going to come and dispose this and go live again. Okay, so there you go, it looks like that. So this one is styled properly, but we have a problem here. We still need to see these images here. You're still not able to see them. We have a problem with this image here, so let's try to fix that. And I also tried to know maybe where we've made that mistake. So in the very second div here in our decorated image grid, one of the things that I'm always forgetting is to have this translate in negative. Like we should start it with minus and then translate, and that should in fact fix the problem. Yeah, so as you can see, the problem is fixed, so we have the grid there. So let's try to fix this image here. It looks like the path is broken or something. Okay, so we need to have a period here, so a full stop like that. So that is making us to miss that image. So after refreshing now, we should be able to easily get the image and display it really comfortably, as you can see. And this is something that is very responsive. If I can just show you here, you can see the images are changing depending on the screen size. So it's very responsive. So at that given size, that's how you're going to have the images. If I keep on resizing these, we're going now to see the images behave like that, and on a very small screen, then we are going to have the images look like that. Okay, so we are now done with the hello section. All we need to do of course is to change these images so that we don't have like the same image. So I'm just going to stop that, and let me just change the images here very quick. So I can just put any image, it doesn't matter. So let me just put the images. Good, so we have the images changed that way, and now we expect to find different images there. So we're going to see that much later, because right now I just want us to style our button before now we head on to the featured products. So for the button, this is how we are going to style it. So of course we're just applying classes, so we should have a class, and then we want it to be inline a block, and the text should be centered within this space, and we should also have it with the BG of orange. The border should be transparent, so border transparent, so transparent, and it should also be rounded, medium, and also the padding horizontal should be 3, and the padding bottom should be 8. For the font, we want to have it a medium font, so we say medium, and for the color, let's give it white. When hovered over, we should say a BG of orange, and the margin top should be 5. So that's our button, and we are done with that section. We now move on to the featured section, and this is how we are going to style it. From the very first div here, this is where we are going to state the background color. So the background color will be slate 100, and we'll be applying the dark color later. So let's for now go to the next div, and this is how we are going to style the next div. First, for the width, we are going to give it a max width of 2XL. For the margin, we are going to give it Autro. That means that they will be centered. For the PY, we are going to give it 16, and for the PX will be 4. In small screens, we are going to have the PY being 24, and for in small screens, the PX will be 6. On large screens, the maximum width should be 7XL, and again, still on large screens, we should have the padding bottom being 8. Good, let's now style our heading. So So we give it a class, and the first class will be the size 2XL. It should be bold, and in fact extra bold. The spacing between them should be tight, and the text should be gray. And we should also have a margin bottom of 10. Good. Now we move on to the next div. So this now for the specific product, or the card itself. So this is how we are going to style the card. So we are first of all going to say that it should have a width of full, aspect of W1, aspect of H1, and also the BG should be gray 200, and it should also be rounded LG. The overflow will be hidden, and in extra large screens the aspect should be a W7. On large screens we should have the aspect being 8, and when hovered on, it should have a shadow, a medium shadow. We now style the image, so we will add a class, and we'll start with giving it a full width, a full height, and the object should be centered, so object center, and also the object should cover the whole available space. We can now style the content of our card, the body down here. So we give it a class, and first it will flex, it should be in a low, and this should be justified between, and the padding all allowed should be 2. For the hand of the H3, we are giving it a margin top of 2, text to be large, the color to be gray 900, and that's it. For the paragraph, we are going to have the margin top being 1, the text being large, for the text color we are going to say text gray 900, and that's it. So we can just come and style our SVG icon, and we're just going to state its color, so straight text slate 900, and that's it. So we can preview that and see how it looks in a browser. Okay, so this is what we got. At least you can see the button is well styled, and we changed the images, they look good. And we have this which I think we have a problem. It should not be like this, but we can fix that. So we want it to be in a grid, so let's try to fix that, because I think it is easy. So let me see, we said that this should be the grid starting here. Oh sorry, we are missing something. we should have this style appearing in this container here. So I'm just going to get rid of this, sorry for that, and this one we are going to have it in the div that houses our image. So I'll just come and say class, and I should have this one inside there, and that now means that we are left with this, which is our which is the div that holds our grid. So all the images should be in this specific container here, and then they should be in a horizontal layout. So let me just add that. So this one first should be a grid. How many columns we should have here is 1, and just a minute. Yeah, so we should have calls 1, and we also need to come and state how these columns will behave in different screens. So on small screen, the grid should have 2 columns, and the gap for that should be x6. In large screens, we should have the grid increasing to 3, and in extra large screens the grid should go to how many columns? 4, and the gap in the large screens should be 8. Yeah, just like that. So that is one thing that we had missed, and which I think should now fix our problem now that we have it there. Well, good. So yeah, we have it there as you would expect. So featured clothes, then we have that there. Yes, so I think it looks good. That's how we want it to look like. So far so good. So what now we can do now to have several is we're just going to duplicate that we're just going to duplicate this anchor tag and its contents. So I'm just going to select the whole of this up to there, and I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll have 4 of them, and then try to refresh and see whether we are going to have the images and read out the way we want or the way we have styled. Yeah, and they look nice. As you can see, we have the 4 images there with their contents there, which is looking great. Let's see how they behave on different screens. So in this given screen, this is how it will look like. In this given size, should look like that. And if we increase the size a little bit, maybe to that point, we should have 2. And now if we keep on increasing, then they should break to 3. And then now finally we should have it now go to 4, which is the maximum there. So far so good. Our website is looking good. And so now we can just change the images here. So I'll just play around with the images because they're just for running purposes. So one of the image here is so small. Let me just change it. So instead of having the image number 10, can have the image number 5. Okay, so that should change there. So now is the high time that we move on to the next section, the section people also purchased. And here so let me first of all dispose this so that we can continue comfortably, because this live server is interfering with my recording in some way, so I just want to have it post. Okay, so I can now comfortably continue here. So for this one I'm going to give it a class of bg select of 200, and that's done for the first div there. For the second div within this section, this is how we are going to style it. So we'll start with the maximum width, so I'm going to say max width of 2XL. The items should be centered, so MX Autro, the PY of 6 with a PX of 4, and in small screens we should have the PY being 24, and again in small screens we should have the PX being 6. Large screens, the maximum width should be 7XL, and large screens again we should have the PX being 8. And we are done. So we can now style our heading. So it's sort of a repetition of what we have just done on top there. So for the text we want it to be 2XL. For the font, if we give it extra bold, it will be fine. For the spacing between the text, we are going to talk of tight, and we should also have the color being clear, 900, and that's good. This one should be font, and we are good with that. So we can now move to the grid. So for the grid again, we are going to come and have it with a margin top, so a margin top of 6. The number of grids should be 1, and before we say the number of grids, we should first of all have the class of grid, so that now a grid is started, and we say that we only want 1. For the gap between them, it should be 10, and the gap again, the bottom should be 6, and for the grid on small devices should be 2 columns. On large screens, the columns should be 4. On extra large, we should have the gap being 8. Good. So now we style the container that houses our image. Oh, sorry, as usual, I have skipped this div, which is very important. So let me just get rid of that, and instead of having it there, we should have it in this div. Yeah, so that now here we come and have some other classes. So in fact I should have this comment moving from there to here like that, and maybe I can remove this space like that, so we can now come and add the other class here. So first of all, we talk of group, relative, a BG of white, and we should have it rounded top, medium, and the hover should be a shadow, a medium shadow. Okay, so now we can style the content that houses our image now. So class, and we should first of all say that it should have a full width and a mean hash of 80. The BG should be gray 900, rather 200, and aspect of W1, then aspect of H1. So aspect, and we should also come and say that should also be rounded, at top, medium, and for the overflow should be hidden. For the hover, we are going to come and have it with an opacity of 75. On large screens, we should have the height being 80, and on large screens the aspect should be none. Now we style our image, so we'll come and give it a class here. So I will start with the width full, a height of full, and object center, and object cover. For this specific div here, we should style it this way. So we have a class, and we give it a margin top of 4. The flex, we should have them in a horizontal manner, so flex, and justify between, and a padding top of 2. So every content within this div should have a margin top of 4. They should be flexed horizontally, justified between, and a padding or rounded of 2. So we can now go to our H3 in this case. So this is like the name of this specific product. So for the size, it will be 2XL. For the font, should be bold, text gray 700, and that's it. We are just going to have our span here having an aspect of being absolute, and insert. So now we style our paragraph. We give it a class of text SM, so that means it will be small. The font should be medium. The text color to be a gray 900, and that's it. So now we can go to our banner here. So that yellow rectangle, so give it a class. Oh, sorry, not yellow. Yeah, some sort of a yellow rectangle. So we're going to have it with a margin top of 4, margin bottom of 0, flex. Stuff should be justified between and the P should be 2 and the background color should be orange. Okay, so for the heading here we are going to style it this way. So the add to list, we are going to have it being small, so text SM. For its color it will be white, and we are done. And for the span, just like we did with the very first one there, this should be absolute. And we should also come and add here hidden. Area hidden is equals to and now for the shopping cart icon, we are going to style it namna this, so text white, just that. So that should be our section, people also purchased or popular products section. And we just want to go live here as usual to see how that looks, and if you are able to style it. That looks good, but we do have a problem here. The hovering effect is good, the name is good, but I think this button should stretch out through. Why is it not? I'm thinking that should have this one adding here. Let me just see. Yeah, so that looks nice. So it is that div that was closed in the long part. So that looks good. As far as I'm concerned, it's nice, looks good. Okay, so now what we're just left to do is to now duplicate this so that we have at least 4 or several of them. So we are going to duplicate which part? The part below the grid, this part here, all through to that. So this one should be ends. Okay, so let me grab that and duplicate it several times from here, if I'm not wrong, and let me just do it twice. I see. Okay, good. So we can continue. Okay, and that looks nice. So after duplicating, we have that. So it is looking nice. So you can just change the images as usual. And there you go. Very nice. So we now continue to the other halo section here. So we'll do the same. So I'll just pause that as usual, just so that it can give us some space so that we can be as fast as we can here. So that part is done. So now we are going to this code halo section. here you go, and we start styling it. So class relative bg select 100, and we are done. The second div within that section, so everything within this div should everything within this div so the classes that we are going to put here will be applied to everything within this div. So class, and first of all we're going to make it a container just for alignment, the margin and padding and all that. So flex call, reverse, so the columns now will appear in a reversed manner, and on large screens, so LG should have the flex of low, so it should be like a low. Initially it will be a column in reversed manner. Items should be centered. For the gap we're going to have it being 12. Margin top we'll give it 2. On large screens the margin top should be 5. On medium screens the margin top should be 2. Okay, that's for that div. For this other div here that is housing our content now, we are going to say that everything within this div should flex. Flex call, items center. Large screens we should have the items start. So the names or the words should appear before the image, because we have an image down here. So we're saying that this div should be the first in large screens. Let's style our text here, the H2. So we'll say that it should have the size of 3XL. For the font we will have it being extra bold, tracking to be tight, and we should have the text being gray. And on medium screens we should have the text being 6XL. Good. Now we can style the div that is going to house our simple form here. So first we should have it flex, justify center, should be centered, flex lap, the gap should be 6 between them, and the margin top is 10. For this container we should have its contents again flex call. On medium screens we should have the flex low and a gap of 6 and margin top of it. We now style our input field, so I can just come and add the class there. So we can have it focus, outline, none, flex 1, px of 2, and a py of 3. Should also be loaded md, and the text should be black. Can you style our button? Yes, of course. So we can come and give it a class and say that it should be btn orange, and when we hover it should be blue. Yeah, so the reason as to why I've come to the input.css, so this is a very important file. I don't know whether I mentioned it, but it's very important. It is the one that contains the Tailwind base, the Tailwind components, the Tailwind utilities. So this is one that will help Tailwind process your classes and also create the output .css, which I think we have it here. So these two files are very important. So now what I have done within the styles and of the camera is I've tried to style the buttons. As you can see, I've just applied the btn orange, and these are the classes. So this is how it should be styled. So for the btn, is going to apply a shadow of md, py of 3, px of 6, loaded, medium, translation, duration, and all that. Button orange, it should be orange in color, and the text should be white. So whenever I call this class, Tailwind knows that should apply this. Whenever I call this, Tailwind knows to apply this. Button white, if I say button white, and all that stuff. So you should not like be wondering how I have done that. So that's a custom style. It's not like it's coming with Tailwind. Okay, so I think we are done with that part. Now we can do the image. We can style the image. So we give it a class. Should flex as usual, justify center, flex of 1, margin bottom of 0. Medium screens should be margin bottom of 16. On large screens should be a medium of margin bottom of 0, and it should also be loaded. For the image, we'll style it this way. We give it a margin bottom of 10, margin top of 5, should be loaded large. Now the blue, the orange rectangle. So let's see, we should have it here. So the orange rectangle, we give it a class. Of course, it should be hidden by default. On medium screens, it should be in the block layout. Overflow of none, rather hidden. And for the BG, it should be orange. It should also be loaded large. Absolute, so that is loaded left, should be loaded on the left side. So absolute, and should also have a height of 60, and the width should be 2 all over 4. This is just a size. and the top should be that 2, right over 0. On large screens we should have the bottom, should have it a bottom of 28, and again on large screens right should be 30, because we have another right somewhere here. This one should be the reverse, so we should have a negative there. And we are done. As usual, we check if that has been applied as we would expect. In the meantime, you can grab some tea. It's currently very cold here, and there you go. So we have that there. Still loading this part. Okay, so we have this looking like this. Looks like we've missed something, because I was expecting to see something like this. This region is usually very cold. So I was expecting to see something like this. Looks like we are too far away from this, because this is what we have. Nevertheless, we can try to fix that. Something that you should also notice is that that I've just noticed here is that on a small screen we're able to see that section here. As you can see, weekly sales, product, looks we have that there. It's only that I think we have a problem with the break point. So at that very break point we have it, but when it comes to still have it there, it comes to that break point, then the image disappears and everything just tries to be everywhere. So let's just try to fix that. Okay, so all that, let me just see. First of all, we are missing this part, this rectangle. Oh sorry, this should be BG, not GB. So that should fix that. Should at least see the rectangle. And let me see section relative. Oh sorry, we should have flex 1 here, flex 1. So this will allow the item to grow and shrink as needed, ignoring the initial size or its initial size. So I think that's something else that maybe could be causing the problem. Let us see how that looks like. So we can close all the rest here, they're not necessary. Oops, and there you go. It looks very cool, very cool. So let's see on a different screen size how that should look like. Oh, nice. And on that size we now close the rectangle, and you have the items looking like that, and I think it looks nice as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, so that's nice. So we can move on to the next part. So that's done. So that part is done over there. So we can now go to the other part here, which is relatively simple. So this here, the number 5. Okay, so we dispose that, and we now start adding some classes here. So of course the first thing is to have this with a background color, so BG Slate 200, text should be blue, and the padding should be 20, padding top or something. And we should have the first container within this section being a container, and for the third or second div here, we should come and say that on small screens the contents within this div should have a width of 3/4, and on large screens we should have it with a width of 2/4. The maximum or the margin should be out, so we should have them aligned at the center. Okay, so let's style this paragraph here. So we say that the font should be light. We should convert this content to uppercase, text to be at the center, and margin bottom to be 8. For the H1, we should have the text being 3XL, text center, and that's it. So we can now style our a simple form here. So first of all, we're going to have it flex. So that should look like that, and we can now style our input field here. So focus, outline none, flex 1, py of 3, rounded medium, text to be black, and that's it. The button, just like we did with the previous button, btn orange. For the hover, it should be text gray. Well, let's test that and see how it looks like. So we go live, and there we have it. I think this should be loaded or something. Let me see. Yeah, loaded, and then this text looks like we still need some work. Yeah, this one should be loaded. This one should be here, and we can talk of px of just say 3. Okay, so it's still okay, it's loaded, but we still have this text here. Let's see what we are missing here. Change this to 2. We change this to 2 and see. That should solve the problem. Yeah, so we have that solved. Now the text is well spaced out there, as you would expect. So lastly, we do have the footer down here. So let's style that. So For the color, we say BG blue, and a padding top of 8. That's done. The contents within this div should be in a container class. Flex should appear in a row. Flex call. We should have this flex in a row, and items should be centered. We can also come and say that for the contents within this div, this should again flex. Flex 1, that's to make it shrink and grow. Flex lap. And items should be centered. Justify center. And on medium screens, they should also justify start and a gap of 12. Of course, we are going to style this just like we styled the very first one on top there. So class text orange, text orange. On small screens, the text should be 3XL, and we can also talk of font extra bold. And for this one, we're just going to say that should be white. So text white. We start the list items here. So they should first of all flex, have a color of white, be in capital letter. The spacing between them should be 12, and they should be small. In fact, extra small. Good. We can also add the classes to the LIs here. So class is equals cursor point. Oops. Okay. Then lastly, we should now style our social icons here. So for the div that laps them, we're going to have it with these classes. So flex, a gap of 10, a margin top of 12, and on medium screens we should not have any margin top, should be 0. For the for the list items, we are going to have them with flex. The text white. No, we don't need uppercase. We can talk of the gap being 12. The text should be small. And hooray, we are done. So we can try to go live here and see how that looks like finally. There you go. Oh, sorry, this one we have a problem here that needs to be fixed. Okay, so I've just reused the first one. So what I've just done is I've picked the whole of this with the div, and that's what we have down here now. I've just pasted it down here. Yeah, just to try and fix that. Okay, so I think now everything looks good. We are now just left with one thing, and we'll be done with this tutorial. And that one more thing that is remaining is the themes, the light and the dark themes. So for that we are going to require another file here. We're going to require a file here, in fact a JavaScript file, for us to be able to get started with this. And let me see if we can get that specific file. Yeah, we need this JavaScript file, this so we need this file app.js. so I'm going to grab this, and I want to have it within my project folder, this one here. So let me just have it here, or maybe have it inside here, and I can just call it JS, that is the folder. So this is the file that will help us to be able to switch between the light and dark themes. So we just have it there. We're going to see how it looks like in a second. So we have it there. So that means now when we come here, we should be able to see it. So we should open that, and we should be able to see the JS file, and we can click maybe to open it. So this is one of the simplest ways to apply the themes on your website. So just have this file, and then you just link to it, and everything else will be fixed. So let me just take some few seconds to just explain what is happening here. Okay, so to start with, on top here we have the icons, so the sun and the moon. And if you can clearly remember when we were styling our navigation bar, if we can just go there. So let me just take you there where we have the themes. Okay, so here we have it. So we have these two icons, the moon and the sun. You can see in the class I have the moon, and here I have the sun, and that's what we have here as the icons. And then here we have the theme variables. So this is how it looks like. So we are having the system theme, which should be dark. So down here we have the icon toggling. Down here we have the initial theme check, so it should check which theme was there initially, so that when we refresh it will still maintain that specific theme. Here we have the manual theme switch. So this is where you're going to use the toggle buttons. Call the theme switch on clicking buttons. So when you click the button again, it should switch the theme and all that stuff. So basically this script is the one that will help us to be able to have the light and the dark theme, but you should always make sure that these classes are appearing in your HTML. Alright, so this is the app.json file. So basically I've tried to label everything here, so that one is able to understand what is happening. And because we are out of time, I may not get the time to explain everything that is happening here, but the basic thing that you should ensure is that with the icons, you do have them in your HTML files or file. So like I have this sun and the moon, and we are having it somewhere here, as you can see, within the moon and the sun icon. We do have the moon, and we also have the sun here. So whatever you are going to call them, make sure that you have that in this specific area here. So the next thing that you now need to do is to include this file in your HTML file or in your index. So maybe I can just come down here and I can just include it. So maybe I can just come and say script, and here I can just come and say SLC is equals JS and app.js. So after that, now I'll just take you to the other thing that you need to do. So in my tailwind.config.js, I have also included these lines. So dark mode is equals to class, so I've included that in my config or tailwind.config.js. That's also very important. If you miss to have that, then the light and the dark themes may not work. Then the other thing that I've also done now within the HTML is that in this HTML tag, you see we have the dark here. That again is very important to make sure that you have it included there for the light and the dark theme to work. Okay, now after that, I think everything is good, and we can now try to come and make the BG black. So here what I can do, I can just come and say dark, so that now when we switch to the dark theme, this is the color that should be applied in the body. So we're just going to come and say dark BG select, and this one I'm going to give it 900, just like that. So I want to see if that will work, so let me just come and learn it here. So if it works, then we're now going to apply some few classes to our HTML just to make sure that we state the color that should be available in both light and dark theme, like which color should be used in the dark theme and which color should be used in the light theme. So by default we've just applied the color for the light theme, but when we switch to the dark theme, we want to change the color to a different color, just to make sure that everything is visible. And we are good. As you can see, we have the dark theme there, so it's appearing in some specific areas. That means we need to fix those areas. And now you see we only have the sun here that can help us to switch now to the light mode and the dark mode, like that. So now we need to apply some few classes for the colors, so that even the rest of the content is also affected. So I will just go do that, and for now you can just close those ones. We first of all dispose that, and now we try to apply the colors. So it will be very simple. So this is how it looks like. I still need to do some work on the shopping carts, SVGs. This one is fixed, this one is fixed, still remaining to fix that. We also need to make these dark, so that we're going to do later. This one is okay, good. So we are just left to fix these shopping carts and this section here. Good, and now we can try to see where we are going to fix that dark. I should be here. So dark BG dark BG over slate. We start with 800 and see. Oh, why don't we still have? Should have that even in these shopping carts. Oh, we've just done it on these ones. Okay. Oh yeah, it's working the way we expect. We have it here. I think it hadn't. Yeah, so it is working as we would expect. It's only that maybe it had not fully loaded, so that is working fine. So we still need to fix this. I think we just fixed the ones that we have here. Yeah, so let's try to fix that. So this one is working fine. So let me just go there and can just grab this and now have it on the list. So let me just do that very fast. Okay, looking fine. One more thing. So this one is fixed. One more remaining there. We also need to fix these two, and everything will be good. Good, and there we have it. So that's looking fine. So if we now try to switch to the right theme, we have it looking like that. I think that's good. Good. So everything is looking fine, and if we refresh, we should retain the current theme. So we should not lose the current theme that we have selected just because we have refreshed the page. Okay, so and you also notice that it is also hiding the extra icon there, so that we only see the one that we require. In this case, the moon, that will help us to switch to the dark theme, and when we're in the dark theme, we have the sun icon that will help us to switch to the right theme. Alright, and that's it for this cool e-commerce landing page. I hope it was interesting. It was quite long indeed, but I do hope you've learned something. I'll provide a link in the description of this video from where you can download the source code of this whole project if you're interested. And I'm also in future thinking of making it dynamic, so that is you can be able to change these images. I'm also thinking that we can also be able to add a cart, shopping cart, and also the checkout possibility, so that a person can be able to sort of buy and check out from this website. So that is to mean that we need to also have the main portal that will be managing all this stuff. So let me know if that is something that can interest you. So the more people who like that idea, the more likely that I am to make that specific video or add that functionality in this video. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and if you have not subscribed to IT Skills Academy, I would request you to hit the subscribe button right now, so that you don't miss any video that we release every week. In fact, we are releasing, or we do release videos on every Tuesday and Thursday. So turn on that notification bell so that you're notified every time I release a new video. So that's it. See you in the next one, and as usual, stay safe.